The galaxy mocked humans until humanity roared. Part 1. The shuttle-carrying ambassador and her diplomatic team approached the Galactic Council station with cautious optimism. Through the viewport, could see the massive structure spinning slowly against the backdrop of stars. It looked like a flower made of metal and light, each petal representing a different species that called the council home. She had dreamed of this moment since she was a child reading about the first radio signals from space. Humanity was finally here, finally ready to take its place among the stars. The docking procedure took 20 minutes. When the airlock finally opened, stepped into a corridor that seemed to stretch forever. The walls shimmered with colors her eyes struggled to process. Aliens of every shape and size moved past her team. Some walked on legs, others floated, a few slithered. None of them paid the humans much attention. Their guide, a tall creature with blue skin and 4 arms, introduced himself as coordinator. He spoke in perfect English, though his mouth barely moved. Realized he was using some kind of translator device. "Follow me," said without warmth. "The council is waiting." The walk to the council chambers felt long. Noticed how other aliens looked at her team. Some pointed. Others made sounds that might have been laughter. A group of insect-like beings actually stopped to stare, their compound eyes glittering with what looked like amusement. "Are we late?" asked. "No," he replied. "They find you interesting. Most species arrive here with natural advantages, telepathy, enhanced strength. Your species has none of these things. It makes you unusual." The way he said unusual made it sound like an insult. The council chamber was enormous. Hundreds of seats rose in tiers around a central platform. Each seat held a different alien species. Counted at least 50 different types just in her immediate view. The air hummed with translation devices working overtime, converting thousands of languages into something everyone could understand. Gestured to the platform, "Present your case." Walked forward, her team behind her. The chamber grew quiet. She felt hundreds of eyes, in shapes she couldn't always identify, focusing on her. She cleared her throat and began to speak. "Honored members of the Galactic Council, I am Ambassador of Earth. I come before you today to request full membership for humanity in this great assembly. We are a young species, yes, but we are eager to learn and contribute to galactic civilization. We bring with us our culture, our art, our science, and our desire for peace among the stars." She spoke for 10 minutes, outlining humanity's history, achievements, and hopes. She talked about overcoming wars and diseases. She described human art and music. She explained their democratic values and commitment to cooperation. When she finished, she felt proud. It was a good speech. The silence that followed lasted too long. Then someone laughed. It started as a chittering sound from one of the insect beings, then a deep rumble from something large and reptilian. Soon, the entire chamber echoed with alien laughter. A voice boomed across the space. "Observer status is granted. You may watch and learn." Dismissed. Stood frozen. "Wait, please, can we discuss this?" "There is nothing to discuss," said a crystalline being that glowed with inner light. "Your species took 12,000 years to leave your planet. We did it in 3,000. Your fastest ships barely reach light speed. Ours exceed it by factors of hundreds. You communicate by making sounds with your mouths, like animals." More laughter. A massive reptilian creature, easily 3 meters tall, leaned forward. "Tell me, human, what is your species ranking in physical strength?" Knew the answer. They had researched this. "We rank in the lower percentiles. 219th out of 247 species, to be precise," the reptilian continued. "Your bones break easily. Your skin provides no protection. You live such short lives that you barely have time to learn anything before you die. What exactly do you offer this council?" Felt her face grow hot. "We offer our perspective, our creativity, our determination." "Determination," the crystalline being repeated and somehow made the word sound ridiculous. How charming! Observer status, as stated. Perhaps in a few thousand cycles, when you have evolved beyond your primitive state, we can revisit this conversation. The gavel came down. The decision was final. The journey back to the shuttle happened in a blur. Team said nothing. What was there to say? They had traveled across the galaxy to be patted on the head like children and sent away. On the flight back to Earth, sat alone in her quarters and watched the recordings of first contact from other species. The powerful reptilians had arrived with a fleet of warships and demanded respect. The insect collective had demonstrated their hive mind's efficiency. They had simply appeared in the council chamber through some kind of teleportation, proving their technological superiority. Humanity had arrived with speeches and hope. She wanted to cry, but she was too angry. The news spread across Earth within hours. Every news channel showed clips of the council's laughter. Every social media platform exploded with reactions. Some people were furious. Others were humiliated. Many just felt defeated. Was called before a joint session of the United Earth Congress. The room was packed with representatives from every nation. The questions came fast and harsh. How could you let them humiliate us like that? Did you not prepare properly? What do we do now? Stood at the podium and looked out at the crowd. She thought about giving them a political answer, something smooth and reassuring. Instead, she told them the truth. They laughed at us, she said quietly. They laugh because they think we are weak, small, insignificant, and by their measurements maybe we are. We are not the strongest. We are not the most advanced. But I learned something today. I learned that the Galactic Council has been comfortable for a very long time. They have forgotten what it means to struggle. They have forgotten what it means to earn something. She paused, gathering her thoughts. Observer status means they will ignore us. They think we will fade away, embarrassed and broken. I say we prove them wrong, not with words, not with politics, but by becoming something they cannot ignore. We have 5 years until our next review. I say we spend those 5 years working harder than we have ever worked before. We study their technology. We improve ourselves. We become stronger, faster, smarter. And when we return to that council chamber, we do not ask for respect. We demand it. The chamber erupted. Some cheered. Others shouted that it was impossible. But in the back of the room, Admiral smiled. She was the head of Earth's small defense fleet, and she liked what she was hearing. The years that followed became known as the Crucible Period. Earth and its small colonies transformed. Every university focused on understanding alien technology. Every laboratory worked on improving human capabilities. The military expanded, not for conquest but for defense and capability. Admiral became the face of humanity's transformation. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a sharper mind. While diplomats tried to network with minor alien species, focused on practical matters. She studied every battle recording she could find. She analyzed alien ship designs. She wargamed scenarios that most people thought were paranoid fantasies. What if we have to fight? She asked her staff during one meeting. Fight who? Her second-in-command replied. We are observer status. We are not involved in galactic politics. That is exactly when you are most vulnerable, said. When everyone thinks you do not matter. She pushed for new ship designs. Human vessels were smaller than most alien ships, yes, but they could be faster, more maneuverable. Humans could not match alien strength, but they could use tools and tactics. The aliens had been at peace so long that their militaries were ceremonial, drilled her forces like they were preparing for war. You are being paranoid, the politicians told her. I am being prepared, she replied. In the 3rd year of observer status, something changed. The outer colonies started reporting strange signals. Ships appeared on long-range sensors and then vanished. A mining colony on the edge of council space went silent. Then another. Then 5 more. The council barely noticed. They were too busy with their own politics and ceremonies. The disappearances were just anomalies, they said. probably equipment failures. Still serving as Earth's ambassador, tried to raise the issue at a council session. She was allowed to speak for 3 minutes, a courtesy extended to observer species. "Something is happening in the outer rim," she said. "Colonies are going dark. We should investigate." The representative laughed. "The human is concerned about technical failures. How sweet. This council deals with matters of importance, not every malfunction in the galaxy." 3 minutes ended. She was escorted from the chamber. She contacted immediately. "Something is wrong. They are not taking this seriously." "Then we will," said. She sent 3 scout ships to the outer rim, against direct orders from the council to stay in human space. The ships were crewed by volunteers who knew they might not come back. 2 ships returned. The third was never heard from again. What they brought back changed everything. Video recordings of massive ships, sensors showing energy signatures that did not match any known technology, and one other thing, a recording of an attack. The crew of the scout ship Endeavour had witnessed a colony being attacked. The footage was grainy but clear enough. Massive alien vessels appeared without warning. They did not try to communicate. They simply began destroying everything. The ships, so advanced and powerful, lasted less than 10 minutes. The colony's shields, impenetrable by council standards, were torn through like paper. Then the attackers did something worse than destroy. They began harvesting. The ships extended tendrils that pulled apart buildings, absorbed resources, and collected biomass, including themselves. Watched the footage 12 times. Then she called an emergency meeting with Earth's government. "We need to prepare for war," she said. "The council will handle it," someone argued. "The council does not even believe it is happening," replied. "And when they finally do, it will be too late. These things, whatever they are not here to negotiate. They are here to consume, and we are on the menu." Stood in her apartment on the council station looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, something was coming, something that made the council's mockery seem trivial. She thought about humanity's journey to the stars, all the struggles, all the sacrifices, all the dreams. They had reached for the stars only to be laughed at, but maybe that was not the worst thing. Maybe being underestimated was an advantage. She picked up her communication device and sent a message to Admiral. "Do what you need to do. Make us ready." Smiled when she received the message. She had been waiting for permission. Now she had it. Humanity had been mocked, dismissed, forgotten. But they were about to remind the galaxy of something important. The most dangerous animal is the one you do not see coming. Part 2. The attack came on a Tuesday, though days of the week meant nothing in space. Admiral was reviewing tactical simulations when the first distress call reached Earth. It was from Prime, the reptilian that had so arrogantly mocked humanity 5 years ago. The message was brief and desperate. "They are here, send help, they are everywhere, we cannot," then static. Pulled up the star map. Red markers began appearing across the display, colony after colony going dark, not just worlds, hive planets, crystal cities, even the heavily defended trade stations, all falling silent within hours of each other. The Galactic Council convened in emergency session. For the first time in recorded history, the chamber was not filled with posturing and ceremony. It was filled with panic. Watched from the observer gallery as council members shouted over each other. The ambassador, his scales dull with stress, demanded immediate military response. The representative, speaking for billions of minds in their hive collective, buzzed frantically about the loss of 17 colonies. The flickered with distress, their usual glow reduced to anxious pulses. "We must organize a defense fleet," someone shouted. "Our fleets are scattered across 1,000 systems," another replied. "Bring them together." "That would take weeks." "We do not have weeks." The council descended into chaos. These species had lived in peace for so long that they had forgotten how to respond to real danger. Their militaries were parade formations. Their strategies were outdated. Their commanders had never fought an actual war. Received a priority message on her personal device. It was from, "They will ask for our help soon. When they do, what should I tell them?" Looked down at the panicking council. These were the beings who had laughed at humanity, who had called them primitive, who had given them observer status like feeding scraps to a dog. Now they were terrified, and soon they would come begging. She typed back, "Tell them we respectfully decline." 3 hours later, the council formally requested human assistance. The request was phrased as an order, because even in their fear, the council members could not quite bring themselves to ask nicely. They demanded that Earth provide ships, resources, and personnel to support the council's defense efforts. Admiral stood before the council via holographic transmission. She looked small compared to the towering aliens around her. But when she spoke, her voice carried the weight of someone who had actually prepared for this moment. "We respectfully decline," she said. The chamber exploded. "You cannot refuse," the ambassador roared. "You are observer status, you must comply." "We are observer status," agreed calmly, "which means we observe. We do not take orders. If you want our help, you need to ask properly." "Ask," the crystalline representative pulsed with indignation. "You are primitives. You should be honored to serve." Smiled, and it was not a pleasant smile. "Then serve yourselves. Good luck." She terminated the connection. Back on Earth, turned to her senior staff. "How long before they realize they need us more than we need them?" "Days," her tactical officer said. "Maybe hours." He was right. 6 hours later, the first major battle occurred. A council fleet of 300 ships engaged the enemy at the junction, a strategic choke point. The fleet was commanded by a war master who had won 100 ceremonial battles in simulated combat. The battle lasted 17 minutes. 283 ships were destroyed. The remaining 17 fled in disorder. The footage reached Earth immediately, gathered her command staff to watch. The enemy ships were unlike anything in Council records. They were massive, organic-looking structures that seemed to grow and shift. They did not maneuver like ships. They moved like predators, anticipating where Council vessels would go before they got there. Their weapons were not lasers or missiles. They were beams of energy that seemed to dissolve matter at a molecular level. But what struck most was the pattern. The enemy ships worked together with perfect coordination. They flanked. They feinted. They adapted to Council tactics in real time. It was like watching a wolf pack hunting deer. "They are learning," said quietly. "Every battle makes them smarter." "How do we fight something like that?" her second-in-command asked. "We do what they are not expecting," replied. "We act unpredictably." The Council contacted Earth again. This time there was no pride in their voices. The ambassador spoke with his head lowered, a gesture of submission in his culture. "We were wrong," he said simply. "We need your help, please." Met with before responding, "What do you want to do?" "I want to save them," said. "But more importantly, I want to save us. If the Council falls, we are next. This enemy will not stop until it has consumed everything. So we help them. We help the galaxy, and in exchange we get what we should have had from the beginning, respect." Returned to the council chamber. This time she did not stand in the observer gallery. She walked onto the main floor where only full members were allowed. When security tried to stop her, she spoke clearly so everyone could hear. "Humanity offers our assistance, but we have conditions." The chamber fell silent. "We want full council membership. We want command authority over all military operations. And we want every species here to follow human tactical doctrine without question. You may have better technology, but we have better strategy. Take it or leave it." For a long moment no one spoke. Then the ambassador stood, agreed. One by one, other species stood. Even the proud crystalline beings who had mocked humanity the loudest. They all agreed. Admiral arrived at the council station 2 days later with the human fleet. It was not a large fleet, 37 ships compared to the thousands the council could muster. But when stepped into the war room, every alien commander stood at attention. She studied the tactical display. Red markers covered half the map. The enemy was advancing on multiple fronts, consuming everything in their path. Council forces were scattered, disorganized, losing ground every hour. "This is unacceptable," said. "You are fighting them like this is a tournament. It is not. This is survival." She began issuing orders. Pull back from exposed positions. Consolidate forces. Stop trying to defend everything and start defending what matters. Use smaller ships for hit-and-run attacks. Draw the enemy into traps. Fight dirty. A commander objected. "This is not honorable combat." Turn to him. "There is no honor in extinction. You want to live. You follow my orders. You want to die with pride. Go fight them yourself." The commander lowered his head. "Yes, Admiral." The first test came at Station, a human mining colony on the frontier. Long-range sensors detected enemy ships approaching. The station had 3,000 inhabitants and minimal defenses. Standard council protocol would be to evacuate and abandon the position. "Had a different idea. We hold." "It is a mining station," an officer protested. "It has no strategic value." "It has human value," replied, "and I will not abandon my people." She sent 6 human ships to defend the station. It was a tiny force against what was coming. The enemy fleet numbered over 100 vessels. Captain commanded the defense. He was a career military officer who had trained under. When he saw the size of the enemy fleet, he contacted the admiral. "This is going to be rough," he said. "I know," replied. "Hold as long as you can." "We will hold until we can't," said. "See you on the other side." The Battle of Station became legend. When the enemy ships arrived, they expected easy prey. Instead, they found something new: humans who refused to run. Ships did not engage in traditional combat. They used the asteroid field around the station as cover, darting between rocks, firing and retreating, never staying in one place. When the enemy adapted, changed tactics. He rammed a damaged ship into an enemy vessel, destroying both but taking out a much larger target. When ammunition ran low, human crews used mining explosives as improvised weapons. The station itself became a fortress. Miners and colonists grabbed whatever they could use as weapons. When the enemy breached the hull, humans fought in the corridors with cutting torches and mining tools. A woman named Sarah, the station's chief engineer, rigged the reactor to overload and held the trigger while enemy forces advanced on her position. "For Earth," she said, and pressed the button. The explosion took out an entire enemy ship and gave the defenders time to regroup. The battle lasted 18 hours. When it ended, all 6 human ships were destroyed. 2,000 of the 3,000 defenders were dead, but the enemy had retreated. For the first time since the invasion began, they had withdrawn from a battle. The galaxy watched the recordings in stunned silence. These were the humans, the weak species, the ones ranked 219th in strength. They had just done what no council species had managed. They had made the enemy bleed. Sat alone in her quarters and watched the list of casualties scroll past. Sarah, 3,000 names of people who had trusted her. She wanted to cry, but there was no time for grief. There were more battles coming, more casualties, more impossible decisions. A message came through from, "The Council is asking what humans are." Typed back, "Tell them we are the species that does not quit." Across the galaxy, something changed. The mockery stopped. When human ships arrived at a battle, aliens cheered. When human commanders gave orders, they were followed without question. The weak species had revealed something the galaxy had forgotten. Strength is not about muscles or technology. It is about will. and humanity's will was unbreakable. Part 3. The war ground on for 18 months. Every week brought new battles, new casualties, new horrors. The enemy, which humanity had started calling the Devourers, pushed deeper into Council space. They consumed planets, harvested resources, and left nothing but empty husks behind. But they were not winning as easily as they had at first. Humanity had changed the nature of the war. Under Admiral's command, Council forces stopped fighting like ceremonial parade troops and started fighting like survivors. They learned to use their aggression in controlled strikes rather than headlong charges. The hive mind coordinated attacks with precision. The shields became mobile fortifications that protected entire battle groups. And everywhere at the front of the hardest battles were humans. They volunteered for the most dangerous missions. They held the line when retreat was the logical choice. They died in numbers that horrified their alien allies, but they never stopped coming. Walked through the medical bay of the Council station and saw the cost. Human soldiers with missing limbs, burned victims, those who would never recover. She stopped by the bed of a young man named David Park. He had lost both legs defending a colony. Was it worth it? She asked him. He looked at her with clear eyes. They would have left those to die, Ambassador, but we did not. That is who we are. That is worth anything. Had to leave before he saw her tears. In the command center, studied reports from deep space reconnaissance. Her forces had been probing enemy territory, trying to find the source of the Devourer fleet. For months, they had found nothing. The enemy seemed to materialize from nowhere. Then a scout ship called Pathfinder, crewed by a human team, sent back a message. We found it. The coordinates led to a region of space called the Abyss Sector, a vast emptiness between galactic arms. Long-range scans showed something massive there, a structure perhaps, or a fleet staging area. The readings were unclear, but whatever it was big enough to have its own gravity well. Called a meeting of all senior commanders. The holographic display showed the Abyss Sector location. Every alien in the room understood what she was thinking. You want to attack their home base, the commander said. I want to end this war, replied. We can keep fighting defensive battles for years, but they will keep coming. We need to cut off the head. It could be a trap, a clustermind warned. Everything is a trap, said. The question is whether we spring it on our terms or theirs. A general flickered with concern. You are talking about taking our entire fleet into unknown territory. If we fail, the Council space is defenseless. If we do not try, we lose anyway, said. They are learning from every battle. They are adapting. Eventually, they will overcome us. This is our chance while we still have momentum. Stood in the back of the room. What do you need from Earth? Everything, said simply. Every ship, every soldier, everything we have. The vote was unanimous. Every species committed their remaining forces to the assault. It would be the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. 7,000 ships from 247 species, all under human command. The fleet assembled over 2 weeks. Ships arrived from every corner of Council space. Spent the time planning. She war-gamed every scenario she could imagine. She knew the Devourers would be expecting them. The trick was to give them what they expected while hiding what they did not. The night before the fleet departed, met with her senior staff. They were a mix of humans and aliens now, species that had once mocked each other working together seamlessly. Some of us will not come back, said. Probably most of us. But what we do tomorrow will determine whether this galaxy has a future. Every person on every ship out there knows the stakes. They are not fighting because I ordered them. They are fighting because it matters. She paused, looking at each of them. It has been an honor. The fleet jumped to the Abyss Sector in waves. As they emerged into normal space, they saw what the Pathfinder had found. It was not a ship. It was not a station. It was something between them, a massive organic structure that seemed to pulse with dark energy. Around it, thousands of Devourer vessels waited in perfect formation. "They knew we were coming," the tactical officer said. "Of course they did," replied. "Begin the attack." The Battle of the Abyss began with the largest fleet engagement in history. 7,000 Council ships against an enemy that had never known defeat. The opening barrage lit up space like a new sun. Ships exploded on both sides. Energy beams crossed the darkness. Missiles streaked toward targets. Watched the tactical display and made constant adjustments. She sent the ships forward as shock troops, their aggression perfectly suited for the role. She positioned vessels to create shield walls that protected damaged ships. She used coordination to manage the chaos of thousands of vessels in combat. And she used human ships as the scalpel. Fast, maneuverable, unpredictable. They struck at weak points, disrupted enemy formations, drew fire from larger vessels. Human commanders made decisions that no algorithm could predict because humans did not follow logical patterns when survival was at stake. The battle raged for 6 hours. The cost was staggering. Thousands of ships destroyed, millions of lives lost. But slowly, incrementally, the Council fleet pushed forward. Then the Devourers adapted. Their formations shifted. They began anticipating Council tactics. Ships that had been winning suddenly found themselves outmaneuvered. The tide began to turn. Saw it happening. "They are learning too fast. We need to change the game." "How?" her second-in-command asked. Looked at the map. The enemy structure at the center, the heart of their operation. It was heavily defended, seemingly impregnable. No logical commander would try a direct assault. "Get me Captain," said. Captain Jennifer commanded the human carrier Defiant. When her face appeared on screen, she was already smiling. She knew well enough to guess what was coming. "You need someone to do something crazy," said. "I need you to punch through to that structure," said. "Whatever it is controlling the Devourer fleet. If we can destroy it, the rest might fall." "That is a suicide run, Admiral." "I know." Nodded. "Give me 5 minutes to brief my crew. And Admiral, it has been an honor." "The honor is mine," said. Gathered her crew in the hangar bay. There were 300 souls on the Defiant. She looked at each of them and told them the truth. They would fly directly into the heart of the enemy formation. They would probably die, but they might, just might, end this war. Not one person backed out. The Defiant began its run. Around it, human ships formed an escort, creating a spearhead formation. They drove into the enemy fleet like a blade. Ships exploded around them. The escorts fell one by one, sacrificing themselves to keep the Defiant moving forward. On the Council ships, alien crews watched in awe and horror. This was what humans were, not the strongest, but the most stubborn, the most fierce, the most willing to die for others. The Defiant took hit after hit. Hull breaches, fire, systems failing, but kept flying. When the engines failed, she rerouted power from life support. When weapons went offline, she plotted a ramming course. "This is Defiant to all ships," broadcast. "It has been a privilege fighting alongside you. Tell Earth we did our duty." She gunned the engines one last time and crashed the Defiant directly into the enemy structure. The explosion was nuclear in scale. The structure shuddered, its dark energy flickering. And the Devourer fleet stopped. For just a moment, every enemy ship froze. Their perfect coordination failed. Their adapted tactics disappeared. They hung in space like puppets with cut strings. "All ships attack now," ordered. The Council fleet surged forward. Without their central coordination, the Devourer ships were just targets. The battle turned into a massacre. Enemy vessels tried to retreat, but they no longer moved with their previous unity. They were confused, disorganized, vulnerable. It took another 3 hours, but when it ended, the Devourer fleet was destroyed. The structure had crashed into was now a spreading debris field. Long-range sensors showed no more enemy ships anywhere in the galaxy. The war was over. The cost had been catastrophic. Of the 7,000 ships that entered the abyss, fewer than 1,500 limped back to Council space. Humanity had lost 70% of its fleet. Other species had fared no better. Entire worlds mourned their dead. But they had won. The Galactic Council convened 1 month later. This time, the chamber was different. There was no posturing, no arrogance. The beings who gathered there had looked into the void and realized how close they had come to extinction. Ambassador walked into the chamber, and the entire council stood. It was a gesture of respect given only to the highest leaders. She took her place not in the observer gallery, but at the central podium where once she had been mocked. The ambassador, now missing one arm from battle injuries, spoke first. On behalf of the council, we formally offer humanity full membership and permanent command of all military forces. You have earned this not through technology or strength, but through sacrifice, through teaching us what we had forgotten. Looked out at the assembled species. We accept, but not because we need your validation anymore. We accept because you need someone to remind you that peace is not guaranteed. It must be defended, and defense requires not just weapons but will. She took a breath. The galaxy mocked us when we first came here. You called us weak, primitive, insignificant. You were right about some things. We are not the strongest. We are not the most advanced. But you were wrong about what matters. She gestured to the empty seats where fallen species would never sit again. Strength is not where you start. It is refusing to quit when everything says you should. It is standing up when it would be easier to fall. It is protecting others even when it costs everything. The chamber was silent. Humanity came to the stars not because we were ready, continued. We came because we refused to accept limits. We were mocked and we used that mockery as fuel. We were dismissed and we proved everyone wrong, not through conquest, not through domination, but by being willing to bleed for a galaxy that had laughed at us. She looked directly at the ambassador. You asked once what humanity offers this council. This is what we offer, the memory of what it means to fight for something bigger than yourself, the understanding that survival requires sacrifice, and the knowledge that the most dangerous thing in the universe is not the biggest or the strongest, but the one that refuses to surrender. The council voted. It was unanimous. Humanity was granted full membership, with Admiral given command of all military forces and appointed as the council's vice chair. After the ceremony, found in an observation deck, looking out at the stars, the Admiral had aged visibly during the war. Her hair was now, and she moved with the careful precision of someone nursing old injuries. Do you think they have really learned? Asked. Some have, said. Others will forget as soon as peace lasts long enough. That is the nature of comfort. It makes you weak. So we keep them sharp. We keep them ready, replied, because the devourers were not the only threat out there. The galaxy is bigger than we know, darker, and something will always be waiting in that darkness. Stood beside her friend and looked out at the infinite stars. Humanity had come so far from that first humiliating visit to the council. They had proven themselves in ways no one could have predicted. They had roared, and the galaxy had listened. But was right. The universe did not care about past victories. There would be new challenges, new threats, new chances to fail. And humanity would face them the same way they always had, by refusing to quit, refusing to bow, refusing to surrender. They were human, and that meant something now. The galaxy had mocked them once. It would not make that mistake again.